Everybody, Josh, it's the alternative media here, and do people ever learn? That's a real question going forward. Do people ever learn that it doesn't have to be this side or that side? Right now, if you say it's bad that the CIA is doing a coup in Venezuela, people say, oh, you must love Maduro. If you call out Maduro, you must love CIA coups. How about both are terrible and both are signatory of where the world is going, because it's not just going to be Maduro. It's not just going to be Venezuela. It's going to be Cuba. It's going to be Mexico. It's going to be Colombia. It's going to be Honduras. And right now it's also going to be Iran. And this is part of a global shift into the world order that we've been warning about for so many years. And people are totally missing the plot, playing sides. Remember, Maduro himself personally banned me from Venezuela for going after him, going back to 2014, 2015. And again, that does not mean then I must want CIA coups. And when I call it the CIA coups, people say you must be some leftist that loves Maduro. The military-industrial complex is the most obvious form of big government. But alas, the logic is lost on most. Maduro and his wife plead not guilty in New York federal court as rival protests rage outside. And we'll get into who's actually putting on these protests right away. Video has come out of Maduro being rushed from the helicopter to court. Very interesting with his wife. The video looks very strange, I have to say, but this is official video that they have released themselves. However, it does seem like almost AI, but it's allegedly real according to the government, and I just find it weird. It's coming up right away here. You're going to see it, and I'm going to get into all this stuff with Iran and Cuba right away, but I just wanted to show you guys something. When he's about to get into the helicopter,
it's not the only thing that's AI.
And a bunch of the agents here then take out their phones, and you're going to see them taking photos in a minute. And why does that, like, you look at the phones, and what you're seeing on the phone is not what you're actually seeing in front of them. I don't know. It just seems like AI to me. But anyway, that's the official release, so I got to go with it, I guess, for now. It's hard to tell in 2026. Anyway, there's so much to go on here. I mean, this so much reminds me of George Bush's mission accomplished. But people have short memories or weren't even alive at that time and don't understand what is going on. And most will listen to people who didn't know who Maduro was 5 months ago over people like myself who are algorithmically hidden despite having more than a decade expertise on this issue specifically. So, alas, we are in clown world, my friends, and we're going to go into what all this means as well as what is going on with Iran, which is absolutely insane right now. And another example of the coups to come, as Trump poses with neocon Lindsey Graham with a hat that says, "Make Iran great again." Yikes. We are witnessing history in all the wrong ways play out, and we have to dissect it. Before we get into this, I urge people to check those links below. Check out Wave Watch 2.2. Pre-order today, $1,250 for... With world media cameras gathered outside the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan and the court perp walk of Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores, set to take place at around noon Eastern, a gaggle of rival protest groups have gathered. Maduro says he is not guilty of U.S. narco-terrorism charge. Maduro says he is an innocent, decent man. Celia Flores also pleads not guilty to U.S. charges. Celia Flores says she is completely innocent. Judge sets next Maduro hearing for March 17th. This is going to be played out and also gives time. I mean, because right now Trump is calling for more strikes in Venezuela. Maduro, and I quote, "I'm innocent. I'm a decent man. I'm the president of Venezuela. I consider myself a prisoner of war." Yet, you know, the imagery really seems strange. You've probably seen the images of him in custody, thumbs up, posing with people. The whole thing screams set up with a deal made or something like that. I don't know. Whole thing seems very strange. But again, like I said, Maduro caused mass inflation in Venezuela, did horrible things to his people, locked up people who criticized him, and of course, there were starvation events. I know many Venezuelans. I was with 4 Venezuelans the moment the news broke the other night, and when the bombings took off. And again, people will say, "Oh, well, you know, his military wouldn't do anything to the U.S. because they stood down." There's actually no evidence of that. It happened in 6 minutes. They went from above. They managed to get into the country. No one said that the Venezuelan military is better than the U.S. They certainly aren't. They don't have security infrastructure like the U.S. does. But went in 6 minutes, took Maduro with them and his wife, and killed his security. So I think people are kind of confused about how this is going and how this will continue to go as Trump, like, remember, there's still a whole government there. Trump is talking about continuing to strike Venezuela. And even Machado, who the WEF stooge that they wanted in, now was working with Israel. Even Trump, because she doesn't personally respect the decisions of Trump, he says she will not be president either. Who's deciding this shit? It's like when they went to Iraq and they said, we're going there to spread democracy. Then the Iraqi parliament voted the United States out of the country, and the United States says, no, not your democracy, ours, we're going to stay. I mean, it's so ridiculous, and we'll get into that more later, but I mean, the idea that this is all about saving the Venezuelan people is naive. The Venezuelan people who are rightly excited about, a lot of them, about Maduro being out of power, are also, many of them, I would say it's split. huge amount, and I know because many of my good friends are from Venezuela living here in Mexico and fled Maduro. Many of them don't like Maduro, but they also don't want the CIA controlling their country. They didn't with Juan Guaido. They don't want it with Machado. And, of course, we know that the Israeli government was the one that talked Trump into going into Venezuela. So, again, how can we find a single country in the world where there's a coup where the Mossad isn't involved? And by the way, to those that are saying, oh, this is different, this is great, this is freedom, this is, ending oppression in Venezuela, when has that ever happened at the hands of a CIA coup? The child trafficking, mass murdering CIA are your friends now, and you're calling yourself a freedom fighter, a freedom person, a freedom supporter? Give me a break. We are in a war on humanity right now, and we must fight for humanity while they're fighting against it. This isn't about nation states. You have to be incredibly naive to believe the psyops that are not just like this, subtly coming from the CIA, but they're strictly coming from the CIA. They're the ones telling us these messages, giving us this information, all while bringing in this massive digital infrastructure, technocratic infrastructure across the board. We know the situation with the dollar. We know Venezuela stopped using the dollar, like Iraq and Libya before. We know that they started trading with China when it comes to oil. And Trump is saying that, oh, Venezuela stole our oil, so we're taking it back. What kind of Orwellian doublethink is that? First of all, they have more oil than anywhere in the world, and same with lithium. To say that they're stealing oil by not trading it with a country that's openly trying to commit coups for the last 2 decades against them and kill their leaders, to claim that somehow that's them stealing oil, but then the U.S. going in and literally stealing their oil is not stealing oil, that's Orwellian doublethink. And people, shame on the people that actually believe this garbage. The people in alternative media that are falling for the hopium around this, and I just want to feel better. It makes me feel better that this is all just going to be over soon and everything's going to be fine. It's not going to be over soon. When has it ever been over soon? Trump isn't some exception to this. Again, we saw what just happened in Syria, and we see how that's getting worse. And Trump was praising the coup in Syria, like at the beginning of this year, and was meeting with Jolani al-Shara and in the White House and trying on cologne with them. And now there's massive war, and Trump is sending military there as Israel is going in and doing bombing campaigns. Like, oh, but that's different. How? Because less people died in the overtaking of Syria than in Venezuela. 80 people died in Venezuela, whereas in Syria, there's no deaths. They came in without a shot being fired. And everyone said, look how successful and coordinated this attack was by HTS, formerly Al-Nusra Front, which is Al-Qaeda, armed and funded by the United States and Israel. I mean, people are so naive on this. They have no idea what this all leads to and how this is part of a bigger agenda. And the idea that somehow the CIA is good now in the freedom community, the idea, it is so disheartening to watch. I get it, people want to feel good, but it's so disheartening to watch. I've got a lot on Iran that's coming up here, so I don't want to go on and on and on too long here about, Venezuela, but I need to mention a few things. U.S. mainstream media had prior knowledge of Trump's Venezuela assault, but withheld coverage. Yeah, because the mainstream media is controlled by the CIA, and more so now, the mainstream alternative media is as well, as we've seen.
Like Alex Jones.
And I wrote this on X. This was originally in a response to a comment from someone that's a freedom person that I've known for a long time on Facebook, who then was saying that this is different than Iraq and it's not the same and blah, blah, blah. So I wrote this post in his favor, well, against his favor, really. And by the way, follow us at World Alt Media on X, because we're totally devastated by the algorithm. But I wrote, when people say this isn't like Iraq, Maduro stops using dollar for oil. Saddam stops using dollar for oil. Maduro joins Eastern Alliance with China and Russia. Saddam joins Eastern Alliance with China and Russia. Maduro is accused of holding the weapons of terrorists. Saddam was accused of holding the weapons of terrorists. Israeli government convinces the West to go after Venezuela. Israeli government convinces the West to go after Iraq. People cheer on the fall of Maduro and tear down his statues. People cheer on the fall of Saddam and tear down his statues. U.S. puts permanent military presence in Venezuela to move their elections and fight guerrilla factions. U.S. puts permanent military presence in Iraq to move their elections and fight guerrilla factions. Do people put any thoughts at all into their arguments? By all means, trust the mass murdering, child trafficking CIA. I'm sure they're being honest with you this 600th time. Yeah, no, by the way, the same people that haven't released actual Epstein files and haven't arrested anyone that was involved in mass child trafficking, because it benefits the CIA, and even more so, it benefits Mossad, who is blackmailing U.S. politicians, businessmen, and celebrities. So, again, the idea that we're just going to bow our heads and say, oh, you know what, this is great for Caracas, even if a lot of Venezuelans do believe that, Iraqis were cheering it on as well. Iraqis were saying, this is great. They are going to save our country. How did that turn out? More than 2 million people dead is how that turned out. More than 2 million people. And decades of war. And also, the expansion of Wahhabi factions throughout the Middle East via terrorism, which is armed and funded by the CIA, Mossad, and MI6 in the first place, and the Turkish government and a few others. And that leads into further conflict, which then, in the eyes of Israel, justifies them further in conflict and attacking more places and committing more coups. The CIA was the main entity behind the drug trafficking, by the way, from Mexico, from Colombia, from Nicaragua, from Venezuela, from all these places for years. The CIA was arming and funding cartels just like they were arming and funding terrorists in the Middle East. This isn't different. It's just a different road to take to the same goal. But people are way too thick to understand this because let's just believe that all this is about freedom and Trump is saving us as he's bringing in the biggest debt in history with trillions of dollars.
But he shall be found out, right?
Palantir drones and surveillance
They're telling on their
cameras
own.
on every road in the United States, while at the same time bombing Iran, preemptively getting Israel to bomb Iran while Israel made that decision on their own, I guess, while giving $7 billion to Pfizer to make sure that they are immune from lawsuit and monopolize while giving...
There's the greatest drug cartel right there.
I mean, are people even paying attention to what's happening right now? 5 years of social media history to enter the U.S. That's social credit. This is a whole WEF system, but coming from the right rather than the left, which before it was through the left, through the speech issues and through climate policies and all that kind of stuff, and now it's coming from the right via biometrics, war, migration, all this kind of stuff. If people can't see this, I don't know what to say anymore. I also wrote on X and at World Alt Media, it feels so defeating to see people who didn't know who Maduro was 5 months ago cheering on a CIA coup because it makes them feel good. They get millions of views and big financial grants, while I've been reporting on this for more than a decade, spoke about the potential of a coup when no one in either mainstream or alternative media talked about Venezuela, and here I am with 380 views on YouTube with 150,000 subscribers and being called an idiot. Over 100 video reports on this with warnings for years about this exact thing happening. Maduro is bad. He banned me from the country 10 years ago. The CIA is also bad, and every coup leads to countless innocent deaths and the creation of further conflict. This makes me so effing mad. The simpleton of views by people on both sides is infuriating. But go ahead and scoff at me because you watch someone with no education on the subject make an emotion-based video as the algorithm props them up. As you can see, I'm a little angry about this. And by the way, like when I say no one in either mainstream or alternative media talked about Venezuela when I was talking about it, I mean that. I mean, I know that Jeff Berwick went to Venezuela and made videos on that, so that's definitely good. That was around 2016 or 17. But I want to make it clear, like I was banned from the country. I did over 100 reports on this. And as I showed you in my previous video, my previous report on Venezuela, videos from like 2016,
all right, getting to Iran and the plan.
After being arrested and shot at, to be the new folk hero and do all these things. And I warned about this in 2015. Like, he is the establishment candidate pretending to be anti-establishment in the new... Oh, in the face of all this, I urge people to get prepared. I don't make like any money off this at all. But right now, you can save 25% for a limited time only on heavensharvest.com if you use code WHAM, W-A-M, on long-term storable foods that are non-GMO. There's organic kits, heirloom seeds, water filtration and storage, and books on how to get started. There's freeze-dried via Epstein. And people are honestly thinking this is just about bringing down communism like Maduro, or, you know, on the other side saying Maduro is a hero and is working against the Zionists. It's all fake. It's all theater. And I just hope to God people understand that because, again, they're saying, well, China and Russia are doing military parades in Monterrey, Mexico. Iran has weapons that they're giving to cartels in Mexico. It's so cartoonish. And that is where they are heading with all this. It's a worldwide conflict. Venezuela is just one piece of the puzzle. And they still have a whole military there, which they say stood down. There's no evidence of that. They're just not that strong. But it's not about who's strong. The Iraqi military wasn't that strong either, and look what happened. Again, people just sit on their hands with this stuff. Oh, well, what could possibly happen? Well, what could happen is millions of deaths, and the CIA control of an area, and the mass trafficking of children will continue out of these countries, by the way. And the drug trafficking will continue in another way. They're just utilizing it as an entry point to do this, as a pretext, as they say in Espanol, un pretexto. The idea is they create a problem, get a reaction, they come in as a solution. That's what they call the Hegelian dialectic. And I've been reading about this for a very long time. This is only like 2%, 3% of the books that I've had over the years on these subjects. Trilaterals over Washington about how they're creating this Orwellian technocratic superstate utilizing China as a litmus test, but of course purposely falling into the Chinese model. I mean, all these things, The Trigger by David Icke on 9/11, of course. We have all these books on Epstein, The Creature from Jekyll Island, Provoked by Scott Horton, Deadly Betrayal by Dennis Fritz. I mean, these things are all part of the same overall agenda. The Tavistock Institute, like Operation Mockingbird. The alternative media is Operation Mockingbird now. They're planting stories. They're manipulating your brain. I know I'm saying this as independent media, but I've also turned down a $1 million contract with a major network because I want to sleep at night instead of reading a teleprompter and pushing the latest bullshit. Sorry, again, people keep saying I'm not watching anymore because you're swearing too much. This is the priorities, my friends. Priorities. We're witnessing one of the biggest coups in history, and it's not on Venezuela. It's on you, humankind. The coup is against humanity as a war is against humanity, as the point of all this, at the end of the day, is to bankrupt humanity of independence and free will and push us into a state of complete dependence to the international state. And not just that, the machine. And by the machine, I don't mean like that old saying by hippies, oh, the machine's controlling us, man. No, I'm talking about technocracy, literal machines. Skynet. This is the overall agenda. Bankrupting humanity. This is like a ritual sacrifice for these insane sycophant globalists. That's our job to push back. And how do we push back? Well, we push back by being free, independent human beings. That's the basis of humanity.
And it will happen. He will pass it, you know, and they will mandate that everybody receive it. And that's what that our temptation is, and it's coming. Shalom, first and foremost, like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah Kadash. Double honors, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who are teaching this truth and sincerity. And shout out to Yakims out there in the four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth. Brakah the Yahweh, Brakah the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah Kadash, Brakah Tam. Prayers a little bit. I just getting over E. coli poisoning, come to find out. And so I've had an ailment and slept most of the day, and I thought that it was gone, then it came back again. So yeah, I just needed a little more rest, and then eventually I'll be out there on the street again teaching. You know, it took me half a day today just to get my system back up. I was throwing up everything. No more annexation fantasies. Greenland Prime Minister responded to Chump's threats. U.S. imperial ambitions directed at an EU member were not coordinated diplomatic pushback and explicit warnings against altering borders by force. So they're saying no to his pipe dream of controlling Greenland. Denmark's Prime Minister on the 5th of January publicly renewed rejected threats by U.S. President Chump calling for annexation of Greenland, warning Washington to stop the threats against a historical close ally. It makes absolutely no sense to talk about the U.S. needing to take over Greenland. He said, stress that the U.S. has no right to annex any of the three countries in the Danish kingdom. Greenland's Prime Minister also responded on the same day through social media, issuing a blunt warning. That's enough now, he wrote, following a firmer rejection, saying no more pressure, no more installations, no more fantasies of annexation. You know, but Chump wants Greenland, and yeah, you can see him taking that too. I mean, there's nothing to stop him. Chump threatens Colombia's Petro, says Cuba looks ready to fall. U.S. President said a military operation in Colombia sounds good to him and warns Mexico to get their act together. U.S. President Chump threatened military action against Colombian counterpart Petro following Washington's abduction of Maduro, and said that he believed the government in Cuba, too, was likely to fall soon. Trump's comments came on Sunday amid growing outcry over the brazen abduction of Nicolas Maduro, with Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Mexico, Uruguay, and Spain condemning the U.S. action as a dangerous precedent for peace and regional security. Well, you ain't got no peace because this man of war, Donald Trump, is in charge. And there's only one that's going to stop him. But you see, like everything else, though, it's going to take a little while for Russia to get involved. Because, well, the mark has to be mandated, doesn't it? And that's going to come soon. Maduro's own vice president, now sworn in as president, betrayed him to the CIA. So that's why it was so easy to get there. A recent classified U.S. intelligence assessment determined top members of Nicolas Maduro's regime, including the vice president, would be positioned to lead a temporary government in Caracas and maintain near-term stability if the autocrat lost power. People familiar with the matter said. The analysis by the CIA was briefed to President Trump and shared with a small circle of senior administration officials, according to the two of the people. It was a factor in Trump's decision to back Maduro's vice president instead of opposition leader, some of the people said. So like everything else, though, well, he's deciding who's going to be able to run. So remember, he controls all that now. U.S. kidnapping of Maduro makes mockery of international law, sets dangerous precedent. No shit. What just happened in Venezuela is not a simple event. It's a message to the entire world. All those countries that reject the Western hegemonic project. In a tweet and then in a press briefing, President Chump claimed responsibility for the attack, which is in brazen violation of international law, comparing it to the 1989 kidnapping of former Panamanian President Manuel Noriega, and I remember that one, before stating that Washington will temporarily manage Venezuela. But the real shock came immediately afterward when Chump announced the entry of major oil companies to exploit the Latin countries' vast oil reserves, considered the largest in the world. In other words, the IS kidnapped head of a sovereign state in order to seize its oil. So yeah, it's blatant and it's obvious.
The Venezuelan vice president has strongly slammed the kidnapping of the country's president, Nicolas Maduro, by the United States, stressing that Maduro is the only president of Venezuela. Delcy Rodriguez was speaking in a televised speech from Caracas after U.S. President Donald Trump claimed she had assumed the presidency following Maduro's abduction. Rodriguez demanded the immediate release of Maduro and his wife. She noted that Venezuelans are ready to defend their country with all their strength, and Venezuela will not be a colony of any country. The vice president said the people of Venezuela have resisted all aggressions and will continue on this path. She called on the Venezuelan people to remain calm and united in defending the country. Assuring the nation that there is a functioning government in place, Rodriguez stressed that Venezuela is ready to face every challenge.
No, the country has fallen. It's a fallen state, just like Iraq is. And so, like everything else, though, he, of course, he pled in the court. I am president of Venezuela. I am a prisoner of war. Maduro pleads not guilty in U.S. court. Chump ordered U.S. terrorists to abduct the Venezuelan president from the capital Caracas overnight on Saturday. And so this is what he pled in there. I am innocent. I am not guilty. I am a decent man. President of my country, Maduro told a judge days after his abduction by U.S. terrorists from the Venezuelan capital Caracas. Without providing evidence, President Chump accused Maduro of narco-terrorism. Chump's allegations that Maduro is the leader of the so-called Cartel de los Soles as a pretext to launch military operation against Venezuela. As he left the courtroom, Maduro stated in Spanish, I am the elected president. I am a prisoner of war. I will be free. So, like everything else, though. Well, it's wishful thinking, but here's some of it.
A ti, Delcy,
Alright, this looks like an older
mi
one.
apoyo incondicional a la tarea tan dura que te toca. Cuenta conmigo, cuenta con mi familia, cuenta con nuestra firmeza para tomar los pasos correctos al frente de esta responsabilidad que hoy te toca, y estamos firmes en unidad absoluta para lograr los objetivos de la paz en Venezuela, de sacar al país adelante y que regresen Nicolás y Silvia.
So, that's him in the international court, right? So, like everything else, though. And this is a public service announcement because it's already happening. Our videos are being altered with AI. So, you know, just beware that they're going to frame some of us and they're going to change our videos. This is some of it right here.
Well, breaking fuck the news. Israeli cybersecurity co-founder says it's time to limit the First Amendment. It's time for the government to take full control over social media and what people say on social media. And guess what? I got the video of it because it was live, broadcasted live.
It's difficult to hear, but it's time to limit the First Amendment in order to protect it. And quickly before it's too late.
What do you mean?
I mean that we need to control the platforms, all the social platforms. We need to stack rank the authenticity of every person that expresses themselves online and take control over what they are saying based on that ranking.
The government
should
control social media.
Yeah.
The government should have full and utter control of social media. and the First Amendment should be limited. Hell, the United States of Israel, of America.
All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rekah Kodash. All blessings, honor, glory, and power be unto the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahweh, through his only begotten Son, our Lord and our Savior, whose name is Yahweh Shai. And double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone, who taught me his truth, and salutations to the elect, scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. My name is Amon Gabar, and I'm back with another quick one, Lord willing. It's edifying, quick, fast, straight to the point. And this is a PSA, a video I started watching, put up by GMS Chicago, Flood the Truth. And it's entitled PSA, YouTube is changing our lessons with AI. So I'm going to play and let you hear it and say a few words, and that'll be that. We're entering into some very deceptive times. We're already in extremely deceptive times, and Esau is going to use AI to combat truth, or try to combat truth, fight against truth. He's going to use AI to do that. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, this is like I mentioned in previous videos, you got videos of individuals taking people's pictures and uploading it to an AI generating app and creating videos of them doing something they didn't do and pulling it off as a prank. We're in that age. That's the era that we're in. And before that even was happening, you know, brothers, I know I myself, you know, through the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, as well as other brothers, been saying that they were going to use AI to make it seem as though brothers are doing it and saying something when they're not. You know, I remember saying they were going to use deep fake before AI even became as popular as it is now. Deep fake, which is a form of using AI technology, but, you know, calling it deep fake back then or whatever. But they're going to use this thing to try to fight against truth. But they're going to fail. But keep in mind, persecution got to come anyway. But let me play this video. Listen up.
Brothers that are making lessons. We just wanted to bring this out because it's very important, especially if you're making videos and you're edifying and feeding the flock through your channel. YouTube is now changing our videos, man, and we have proof. And we just wanted to show because this actually happened on Friday, and I thought that the brother has, I thought that the brother's page had gotten hacked, but that wasn't the case, man. What ended up happening was that the brother ended up uploading a video on his channel, and when he uploaded the video, YouTube automatically through AI changed up the whole audio of the actual video and then uploaded it like that, man. And then when I called the brother to warn him about it, he told me that he couldn't change it, that YouTube sent him an email that told them that if your channel is eligible for that, it's going to automatically do it to your video, man. So now we're going to play the video. You got anything you want to say, Al?
Yeah, the video was in Spanish. So once he went ahead and basically translated it, so to say, using AI, everything was off, man. Everything was off. You know, we're making this video to warn the flock about this, you know, because, hey, we're near the famine of the word, man. You know, and so we'll play the video. And let me play the original video first. Okay.
Okay, shalom, shalom. Toda honra, gloria y alabanza se da a Yahweh. Basham, Yahweh Shai, Basham, Rekah Kodash, donde honor los apóstoles y los ancianos de la gran piedra molino. Y shalom a todos los hermanos y mujeres de palabra.
So that was the original video. That was the original audio, because when you click on this video on YouTube, this is what YouTube did to the video. Look at this, man. It's fucking folly.
Okay, shalom, shalom. All honor, glory, and praise be given.
And it doesn't even give praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. It gives praises to Yahweh or whatever, man.
Okay, shalom, shalom. All honor, glory, and praise be given to Yahweh.
Oh, man.
So as you can see, man, YouTube is already changing our videos. So even though the brother did the lesson and he uploaded the lesson, YouTube automatically just took over the video. And even though the lesson was in Spanish, YouTube changed the audio of the lesson from Spanish into English, and it was a completely different message, man. It wasn't even giving praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Instead of saying Shalom, it was saying Shalom. All right? So YouTube right now is playing with our videos, man. Okay, and we gotta know about this because, like it says, the precept that the brother quoted, this is Amos 8 and 11. It says, "Behold, the days come, saith the Lord God, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord. So the very reason why we're trying to warn you brothers and sisters about this, especially you brothers that have a channel, is because we're coming closer to the famine of the word. And when I noticed this, I automatically, I had to tell the brother, man, because one thing about us being in this truth, we're watchmen, and we have to pay attention to certain things, especially concerning our lessons, man. Because think about it, man. If they're already changing the audio of our videos and the content that is in the lesson, what is going to happen very soon, man? All right?
That's right. What's next?
Yeah.
It could be the audio didn't sound really like that brother, to an extent. But next time it can actually be that brother's face with that brother's voice.
Yep.
And you're gonna have to be rooted in the truth. And you're gonna have to every now and then you can tell when the video is AI. But everyone doesn't have that discernment. So you're gonna have to be rooted, grounded in faith.
Yep.
Because Esau's gonna use trickery, man. He's gonna use craftiness, and that's why we're here. Okay, I have a quick scripture.
And we'll pause it real quick. Quote a scripture, 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11. It says, "Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices." Basic fundamental, and real soon you're going to see and realize how essential these basic precepts were to begin with. You know what I'm saying? Here it is. This AI changed from Spanish to English, changed the name Yahweh and Yahushai to Yahweh. Without the brother's permission. And we know who's behind YouTube, who's behind Google, who owns these platforms. We're using their tools to condemn them. All right, keep that in mind. I'll say that again. We are using their tools to condemn them. YouTube ain't ours. That's these devils shit, man. That's they drink. But the Lord allowed it to where we will have the freedom of speech, the First Amendment, to exercise our rights. And we are using our rights the right way. All right? We are using our God-given right the right way, which is to exercise our freedom in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. YouTube wasn't created to do cooking videos and recording your toddler take their first step. You know what I'm saying? I believe the first YouTube video ever was a video at the zoo, if I remember correctly, back in 2005 or something like that, or 6 maybe. It was a video of a dude at a zoo, a petting zoo, videotaping a giraffe or something. But look where YouTube is at now. The truth done going out throughout the four corners of the earth. The scriptures say, when this gospel shall be preached throughout the whole world, then shall the end come. All right, YouTube or the internet as a whole, and then YouTube being a vessel was one of the main things, or main vessel that was used to transport this word throughout the four corners of the earth. And it's already done. It's happened. So what's next? The end is going to come. You got this guy on... Did I upload this video on one of my pages? I believe I did. Let me check. You got this small hat. Let me find it real quick. It was this one small hat who said something about the freedom of speech or the First Amendment. I'm just trying to find it. I got it somewhere. Nah, I don't think I uploaded it. Damn, I thought I did. Matter of fact, I think I did. Hold on. Yup, I did.
Well, breaking fuck the news. Israeli cybersecurity co-founder says it's time to limit the First Amendment. It's time for the government to take full control over social media and what people say on social media.
So Israeli cybersecurity billionaire Shlomo Kramer says it is time to limit the First Amendment. The First Amendment, man. I mean, the Americans got the freedom of speech. They can say but they can say whatever they want under the First Amendment. But there's going to come a time where you won't be able to say what you want. Why? Because we in war times. And they can't allow what they call as propaganda, anti-nationalism speeches being promoted. So they're going to have to come, like the brothers were saying in the video, with that Amos 8 and 11, that famine of hearing the word. So that's why, hey, you brothers out there that are teachers and you have this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, teach. This is your freedom to speak. Like they say, speak now, forever hold your peace. Speak now. Now is the time to talk. Now is the time to hit the button. Because the time is going to come where we're not going to be able to work. So let me play that.
Yeah. And breaking fuck the news. Israeli cybersecurity co-founder says it's time to limit the First Amendment. It's time for the government to take full control over social media and what people say on social media. And guess what? I got the video of it because it was live, broadcasted live.
Well, it's difficult to hear, but it's time to limit the First Amendment in order to protect it, and quickly before it's too late.
What do you mean?
I mean that we need to control the platforms, all the social platforms. We need to second the authenticity of every person that expresses themselves and take control over.
You can tell that guy's a liar, like Bill Gates.
The government should have full and under control of social media, and the First Amendment should be limited. Hell, the United States is of America.
Yep. So,
breaking fuck the news. Israeli cybersecurity.
he said, you heard it, I hope you heard it, but he said pretty much it's going to come down to the authenticity of the people that's on these platforms. And that ties right into a video I put up months ago when they was talking about the digital IDs and how it was going to be used for many things, and social media platforms being one of those many things. You know what I'm saying? To verify people's identity. So total control is coming to freedom, so-called freedom of speech as we know it. You know what I'm saying? You got AI manipulating what brothers are saying. And I've said it before, I echo it again. When you see or hear brothers of GMS doing it, like hypothetically doing or saying something crazy and just totally off, you gotta really use discernment. You gotta use discernment to see or to understand, is it this brother, or is this AI, or is this, what's going on? You know what I mean? Don't take everything you see and run with it. Use discernment. Use wisdom, use knowledge, and use understanding. And that's why a lot of people are going to be deceived in these last days, because false information, AI, Esau spinning the narrative as he always do. But this is just something to be aware of and to stay alert on about, you know what I mean? Because here it is, you uploading a video, this video could be uploaded, and then AI throws something in there that I didn't even say. That's why I don't play around with those AI filters. I was never into those filters that make you, make you look old, make you look, what do you call them, Snapchat filters and all that. All that shit is doing is more and more facial recognition. You giving them the right to do what they want to do openly. Of course, yeah, my phone is right in front of me. They could get my facial recognition all they want. But why give them permission? Why allow them to do it? Scripture say we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. Unlocking your phone, which using biometrics, facial recognition, iris scanning. But like the brothers out there in Chicago mentioned, they just blowing the trumpet and warning brothers to just be aware of something that this devil is doing. That's all this video is as well. Letting you brothers know that the devil is being a devil. The devil is being a devil. They're going to throw some shit up in there, make it sound like you said something when you didn't, blah, 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 whatever. So just be mindful. What can we do about it? There's nothing we can do about it. There's absolutely nothing we can do about it. We just got to keep pushing the word. Be vigilant. Be vigilant. It's a good practice from time to time to go back and review your videos. When I say go back and review your videos, you do a video, screen it real quick, real fast, check it out, make sure everything is on point. It's a good practice. Because sometimes you fuck around and upload a video, just upload it, didn't check it, then look at it, didn't check it out, and come to find out I have no audio. And then you find out 24 hours later that the video you put up had no audio.
Yeah, it's happened before.
Don't be negligent in your works either. So it's a good practice, I'm going to say like that, to just, you upload it, you go look at it, play it, you don't got to watch the whole thing. Some brothers do hour-long videos. You know what I mean? Skip here, skip there. It's a good practice, is all I'm saying. You know, but that's pretty much it. You know, you can go check out the brothers' videos. I'll, Lord willing, once I reach my destination, I'll link it in the description box, Aparatazah. So stay vigilant. You know, this famine of the word is upon us. It's coming soon. And the next phase of teaching his word, preaching his word, or just being faithful in this ministry is going to come. You know, where our faith is going to be tested and proved. You know what I mean? So stay on point, man. Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Barak Thumb. To the Lord's elect, the next time I say, Shalom.
Which is why I also recommend subscribing to me on the other channels that aren't doing that yet, you know, such as Rumble, Odysee, and BitChute. Links down below. Just in case they do alter it. Because, yeah, they can change the algorithm totally. You already know that. And for years, I wasn't even doing YouTube videos because of the bullshit. My video would come down at the same time I put it up, and then I'd get a strike, and just after a while, I just finally just kept teaching on the others, and that, and all my videos are still up. No alterations or anything, you know. But nonetheless, though, you know, he comes in with crafty counsel, right? But, you know, war is in his heart, and we're seeing it. 2 killed in Israeli airstrike against southern Lebanon, despite ceasefire, right? You know, there's supposed to be a ceasefire, but the war is still on. 2 people killed on Sunday with an Israeli airstrike in southern Lebanon, despite ceasefire in place. There was no comment from Hezbollah on the Israeli claim. The Israeli army claimed in a statement that they targeted Hezbollah. Well, that's what they claimed to, right? Under the ceasefire, Israeli terrorists were supposed to withdraw from southern Lebanon in January, but have only partially pulled out, maintaining military presence. And just like they're going to keep Syria, they're going to keep Lebanon, they're going to keep Gaza. And Chump's going to help them. Chump again issues vile regime change threat. Make Iran great again. President Chump, in a widely circulating photo, held up a ball cap which says "Make Iran Great Again" in a photo alongside Senator Graham. So, like everything else, though, you know, because they are threatening. But now, Iran also has found out who the culprits are, you know, behind the protests. Protests persist in Iran as Chump threatens intervention. Sound familiar? Sounds like what they tried to do with Syria, right? That the Syrian rebels that Obama supported, you know, in trying to overthrow Bashar al-Assad, that Bashar al-Assad must step down. Well, they're trying to do the same thing with Iran here. Nightly protests continue across several Iranian cities as authorities reported no official toll, while Chump warned Tehran against using force. Nightly protests continue across several Iranian cities on Sunday, while U.S. President Chump renewed warnings against the use of force, and Iranian officials delivered mixed messages on how to respond to the unrest. So, like everything else, though, you know, just threatening intervention. Iranian security forces arrest Mossad agent operating among rioters. So there's who's behind all this. So here's a Mossad agent that was arrested. And these are supposed to be peaceful protesters, right? Iran rejects Trump's threats as support for terrorism violence. U.S. President threatened to strike Iran very hard if protesters were killed in the unrest that has broken out in the country. Iran's foreign ministry fired back at new threats made by President Chump, referring to Washington and Tel Aviv's statements on recent protests in the country as a plot to support terrorism and violence. The ministry also vowed that Iran is preparing for an attack scenario. Israeli and American statements regarding Iranian internal affairs are part of supporting terrorism and violence and undermining Iranian unity, the Iran Foreign Ministry said in a statement on the 5th of January. So, like everything else, though, you see where this is going, right? You know, they're trying to, if they could, trying to push for regime change in Iran as well. And possible sneak Israeli attack as well amongst the protests. So we already know that Mossad is behind all of that. And like everything else, so is a little funny one, but The Simpsons predict the end of Babylon this year.
And currency confidence collapses, and in the corner of the screen, barely visible unless you pause and zoom in, is a date, January 2026.
January 2026, 1 month before the unrest begins. This is the setup. This is the cause. Economic collapse, resource scarcity, loss of faith in the basic systems that hold society together. And then in February, people take to the streets. But why? What specific event triggers the transformation from crisis to chaos? The Simpsons gives us the answer in a 2012 episode. In this episode, there's a brief scene showing the presidential seal. It's displayed on a screen, as if being broadcast to the nation. And beneath that seal are words, Emergency Powers Act, effective immediately. Emergency powers. This is what The Simpsons predicts happens in early 2026. The president, responding to multiple simultaneous crises, declares a state of emergency and claims powers that presidents have never claimed before. Powers that fundamentally alter the relationship between government and citizens. Powers that millions of Americans see as unconstitutional, as tyrannical, as the moment when democracy dies. And that declaration is what triggers everything else. The protests, the unrest, the violence, the complete breakdown of the old order. Because Americans on both sides of the political spectrum have been conditioned to see emergency powers as the line that must never be crossed, as the moment when resistance becomes not just justified, but necessary. The Simpsons has shown us this scenario play out across multiple episodes. In some, the emergency powers are justified as necessary to deal with economic collapse. In others, they're presented as a response to civil unrest itself, creating a circular logic where protest justifies crackdown, which justifies more protest. In still others, the emergency is linked to external threats, to international conflict, to the need for national unity in the face of danger. But regardless of the justification, the result is the same. America in 2026 becomes something fundamentally different from what it was. The constitutional order that has existed for over 200 years transforms into something new, something that some people welcome and others resist with everything they have. And this transformation doesn't happen peacefully. The Simpsons has shown us the violence. In a 2015 episode, there's a montage of news footage showing American cities in chaos. This isn't played for laughs. The tone is dark, serious, almost documentary-like. Buildings are burning, people are fighting in the streets, armed groups are confronting each other. And the news anchor narrating over this footage says, Day 30 of what historians are already calling the Second American Crisis. Day 30, 1 month into the chaos that begins in 2026, and the phrase Second American Crisis is significant. The first American crisis was the Civil War, the event that nearly destroyed the nation, that killed more Americans than any other conflict in history, that required complete reconstruction of Southern society. And The Simpsons is saying that 2026 brings something comparable, something that will be remembered as the second time America almost tore itself apart. But here's what makes this even more terrifying. The Simpsons doesn't just show us the crisis, it shows us how it's resolved, and that resolution is perhaps more disturbing than the conflict itself. In a 2018 episode, there's a flash-forward scene set in what characters call the New America. The imagery is dystopian. Checkpoints on highways, surveillance cameras everywhere, digital IDs required for basic transactions, and one character says to another, "Remember when we used to be free? That was before 2026 changed everything." Before 2026 changed everything. This is the key phrase. This is what The Simpsons has been trying to tell us, that 2026 is not just a crisis year, it's a transformation year. It's when America as we know it ends and something new begins, something with more control, more surveillance, more restrictions on liberty, all justified by the need for security, stability, order in the aftermath of chaos. And the show has given us specific details about what this new America looks like. In multiple episodes, there are references to restricted travel between states.
So, like everything else, though, we can't wait for it because, again, why the fuck would you want to stay here anyways? You know, I just, doesn't make any sense that people, you know, want to continue to establish their business here, right? You know? But, again, you know, to each their own. I'm not looking to establish space here in Babylon. I'm looking to get out of here. But you know that order out of chaos, it's going to come at a time when you're not expecting it. You see, like everything else, though, they're going to... well, you've seen what's happened with YouTube quite a bit. You know, that the videos come down, and now they're just totally altering the videos completely. Which is why I was teaching on those other channels for so long. I just, you know, only came back to YouTube a couple of weeks ago, so I noticed they weren't taking it down. You know, even though, you know, okay, you know, the certain trigger words and all that was out, you know, I just don't trust YouTube, right? You know, so I stayed on BitChute, Odysee, and Rumble. But I do know that eventually all of it's going to come down, right? So, like everything else, though, this image of the beast, which is the New World Order, the new system, it's coming out. You know, and we also know that Neuralink's going to be pushed, and we know that order out of chaos, the digital IDs, etc., the infrastructure is being set up. You know, and they're going to implant everyone with the device, and that device is the MOTB. Revelation chapter 13 verse 15, it reads, "And he's given power to give breath into the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast will even appear to speak, and cause those who do not bow down and worship the image of the beast to be put to death." So you don't go along with it, you know, well, they're going to execute you right there. "And he compels all, the small and the great, the rich and the poor, the free men and the slaves, to give him a mark in the right hand or in their forehead, solidifying their allegiance to the beast." You know, so this solidifies you to the beast, to Esau. You know, so you don't want to take this implantable device because you have solidified yourself with the beast, and you will be destroyed with the beast, which is Esau. "And that no one may be able to buy or sell except with the one who has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name." So you know that this is coming. The hour of temptation is around the corner. 2026 could be that year. This is also known as the year of apostasy and of sellouts. You know, so you're going to have a lot of people telling you that that's not the MOTB, and many are going to be deceived by that. But like everything else, though, you know, if you think that these words are altered on YouTube, check out the other platforms. You know, let's double check our videos each time and make sure that okay, you know, that's not altered, because yeah, Esau is going to use AI. Shalom, Bracha the Yahweh, Bracha the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Wa Abba Babal. Brakatum, Jehovah elect, Shalom.